Good morning. I'm going to start today's show by asking you three questions. How many of you have a college degree? And by college degree, I mean 4 years. A Bachelor of Science, a BS, or a BA, Bachelor of Arts. How many of you have a 4-year degree? And the second question is, how many of you are actually doing a job that your degree actually obtained for you? How many of you are actually working in a job that you could only get with your college degree, your 4-year college degree? And third, how many of you are in debt and not working and making the money you assumed you would make with a college degree? How many of you have college loans to repay and you're having a hard time doing it because you wasted away in grades 13 through 16? Let me explain. So I read this book. It's by Ben Sass. It's called The Vanishing American Adult. And while I don't agree with everything in this book, he is a Republican senator from Nebraska, and I don't agree with some of his points. The chapters that he wrote about public school education and college education really struck me because I've experienced all of them. All of them. So let's first talk about grades. Now we don't do K through 12 anymore. Now it's preschool. Every American citizen has a right to send their child to preschool through 12th grade at the taxpayer's expense. We all pay school taxes. Those of us who own our own homes, whether we have children or not, we pay taxes. But who chooses the curriculum for our public school system? We don't. We don't ask our children, what are you interested in learning? The government chooses the curriculum. And many times the government gets it wrong. Let's face it. Let me give you some personal experiences of mine. First of all, physical education in elementary schools. I wrote a blog on Facebook, some of you read it, about the angst and the anxiety that I had when I knew that I was going to have to do gymnastics to graduate from 6th grade. I would have to hang upside down from a high bar and flip myself over. And if I couldn't do it, the gym teacher, a man, would put his hands on my ass and make me do it. So I could say I did it, and he could write down in his little government school thing that I did it. What did that teach me, except that I was humiliated, that I couldn't do it on my own? What did that teach me for my future? That, I wasn't going to be a gymnast? Wow, I think I knew that. In 6th grade, I weighed 130 pounds. I wasn't going to be a gymnast. Just like I was never going to be a basketball player or a volleyball player or a softball player or a field hockey player. And yet, for most of my elementary school, middle school, and high school education, I had to do some sort of gym class, which for me was a freaking waste of my time and your money, because I wasn't paying for my education. I was a student. I didn't pay taxes. My mother did. Your parents did. But what was that all about? Why did I have to take swimming in 10th grade? I could swim, okay? Problem was, the teacher, Mrs. Frank, said I couldn't swim like an Olympic athlete. Well, hello. Wasn't planning on going to the Olympics for swimming, but I didn't do my breaststroke kick right. I could hold my breath and swim back and forth in that pool all day long. I could save my own life if I fell into deep water and was drowning. But that wasn't good enough for the school district of Lancaster. No. I couldn't opt out of swimming, even though I'd been swimming since I'm 6 years old. I had to swim like a pro. So therefore, I got to waste 45 minutes of my high school education, my 10th grade year, I got to waste 45 minutes a week. And because I had to take swimming, then I also had to take 2 study halls, which again wasn't teaching me anything. I was wasting my time. Because swimming was one day, 45 minutes. Then I had to take gym 2 days, where I was forced to try to pretend that I played volleyball. And when I played volleyball, let me just tell you what happened with volleyball, right? It was humiliating. Because every time the ball came toward me, I was just like, yeah. Because it hurts. This is a little wrist. You see my wrist? This isn't a volleyball wrist. I was never going to be a volleyball player. Nor should I have had to try to be. Because it didn't teach me anything, except that I hate volleyball. I was never going to be a field hockey player. I'm 5'2". Really? Basketball? But I had to do it. 45 minutes, twice a week. Do you know I actually hurt myself physically in gymnastics in 6th grade? Because every person had to walk across the parallel bars. Now, when I say parallel bars, I mean the parallel bars that in gymnastics only the boys do. Those parallel bars. And I had to go like this and try to walk across them. And I got halfway and fell. And what happened was I pulled a muscle in my chest. And my mother had to take me to the doctor. Now, this was back when I was in 6th grade. Today, the school would have been sued for allowing me to do something I was obviously not capable of doing, and it caused an injury that cost her money at the doctor's office. Yeah, I had to get an x-ray and everything in my chest. I pulled a muscle. Because I was forced to do something I wasn't capable of doing, I didn't want to do, and it didn't teach me anything other than what I already knew, which is I'm not going to be a gymnast. And the funny thing was, those parallel bars, they're not even in women's gymnastics. So why girls were forced to do that, I don't know. A waste of our time and your money. Why was it so important that I was able to pull myself up on a high bar, put my feet up, hang upside down, and flip off? What did that teach me other than I can't do that? Other than it terrifies me to do that? Other than I could have fallen and broken my neck and been a quadriplegic in 6th grade if things had gone wrong? What did that teach me? Nothing. I'm 54 years old. I've been an adult for a long time. I have never had to do for a job, hang upside down from a high bar and swing myself off. For a job, to get paid, to earn a living, I have never had to walk on parallel bars or play volleyball or anything that we did in gym class. But yet they force your children, and they forced me to do it, when I could have been taking a creative writing class or a literature class. I could have been actually learning something that would work toward my future goals, rather than wasting my time. And you know, gym class for me was always just humiliation. And the funniest thing is, and for you young folks out there, I hope you're watching this, my young viewers, the gym teacher, we had to do this President's Physical Fitness Test where everyone had to do 50 sit-ups. I did 50 sit-ups. I was fat. I was bullied. I was the worst person in the gym class, but I did those 50 sit-ups. And they weren't the little sit-ups you guys do now, the crunches. They were the ones where someone held your feet. You had to come all the way up. I did 50. But I couldn't even own that, because the gym teacher made everybody who did the 50 sit-ups stand up. And there's all the skinny chicks, all the little gymnastic chicks, all the kids that were in dance classes. And then there was me, the fat, fatherless child. And he pointed me out, look, every body type can manage 50 sit-ups. Well, guess what, Mr. Salp? I'm 54 years old. And today, I look a lot different than I did when I was in 6th grade. And you know what I don't do? I don't play basketball. I don't do gymnastics. I don't do sit-ups. No. And when I meet those people, those skinny girls that got the 50 sit-ups and you were so proud of them and they could swing off that high bar, you know when I see them today, they're the ones who weigh 50 pounds more than I do, who look nothing like they did when you coveted them in your gym class because they were so special because they could just do everything. I don't exercise. I don't play tennis. I don't do archery. I don't do any of the crap I was forced to do to get out of public school in my daily life. None of it. Nothing. And yet I look 10 times better than I did back then, and 100 times better than a lot of the women, the girls, who used to bully me in gym class. Isn't it funny how that worked out? The reader, the nerd, who would rather be with her books and her counted cross stitch, ended up living a healthier lifestyle, having a healthier body type than all those kids who could swing from the monkey bars and do the parallel bars and do all the crap that the federal government requires of school students to make them feel stupid and unworthy and clumsy and fat. Well, guess what? I never needed it then, and I certainly don't need it now. And isn't it amazing how healthy I look, how wonderful I feel, and that I'm in a size 0. And those little girls that could do the swinging from the high bar, they're in like a size 22. Wow. I guess I win. So much wasted time. And we wonder why our children are on ADHD drugs. How many of your kids, that should be another question. How many of you sent your kids to school, your beautiful, healthy children, that were so smart when you had them in your house and were teaching them their ABCs and their address and their phone number? They were so quick, so smart. They're so happy. And then they go to school, public school. And you get the notes from the teacher. Well, they fidget. They fidget. They can't focus. And yet they come home from school and they go on the video games, the Minecraft. And the, what's the other, Fortnite. They can play that for 6 hours. They don't fidget. They don't even take a potty break. They're into it because it interests them. So while you're shoving ADHD drugs down your child's throat so that they can concentrate in school on subjects that do not interest them, on teachers who do not engage them, they can come home and spend 12 hours on a video game. Now, what does that say? Of course, we can't let our children play video games all of their lives, but perhaps teaching should change. Perhaps there's a way to teach subjects that these kids are bored with or just not interested in a way like the video games engage them. Because I will tell you, and Ben Sass says this in his book, our children are over-medicated. And the problem is not with their minds or their brains, it is with the way they're being taught today. Let's look at college. I was so disappointed when I got to college because I had already taken algebra in 10th grade and biology in 10th grade. I get to college and I'm a journalism major with a minor in theater arts. Not one of my classes in my freshman year had anything to do with the theater. And only one class was a creative writing class. All the other classes that I was required to take and pay for, by the way, because college ain't free like public school is. Back then it was $300 per class. They were saying I had to take algebra. Why? They were saying I had to take biology. Why? I already did that in 10th grade and I passed. Nope, you need to get these prerequisites done before you get into your major. Turns out you don't get into your major subjects until you're a junior. That means 2 years of wasted time, 13th and 14th grade, which is basically what it is. Where instead of being in a college environment that I was looking forward to, where I was going to debate with other students and sit on the grass in the good weather and have a class outside and debate the teacher, the professor, and none of that happened. It was basically just a repeat of 10th grade. Only this time, my mother was paying for it. And many of you had to pay for that. Many freshmen, in fact, 1/3 of freshmen, will never return to college as sophomores. Because the freshman year of college is so much like freaking 10th grade that they're like, they're disillusioned. They're bored. Just like they were bored in high school. School is boring. And it's really boring when you're smart. I was always bored in school, and I was not ADHD. I was just bored because I knew the shit. I did the homework. I was prepared when I walked into class. But I wasn't allowed to enjoy that because other kids were not prepared. They didn't do the homework. And so we had to go over everything again and again and again. I got it the first time, but I had to sit through it the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth time because the stupid kids, the ones who didn't do the work, well, we had to let them catch up because, again, it's public school. Everybody has to have the chance to pass. This is why they lost people like me. Smart kids. Smart. I was a smart kid. But because I was so fucking bored at having to repeat things that I already knew just so other kids could catch up. And I just sat there. Yeah, I was fidgety. And back then we didn't have the ADHD drugs, but I bet I would have been on them because someone would have said, well, Paula fidgets in class. You know why Paula fidgeted in class? Because Paula already knew all the shit you were repeating for the stupid kids who didn't do the work. That's the way it is. That's why many people are choosing to homeschool their children now. Because homeschooled children, I used to think homeschooling was a bad thing, and I used to think that because I thought it was a way to put children in a bubble. Well, we don't want them to meet kids of different religions. We don't want them to meet kids of different backgrounds, different ethnicity. No, see, that's not what it is anymore. I know kids who have been homeschooled, and they do better on their SATs, they're smarter, and they also love to learn. Do you know why they love to learn? Because they learn at their pace. They learn subjects that they are interested in. Instead of being told you have to do volleyball and archery and swimming and you have to do algebra too, even though you have no interest in being a math major. A journalism major doesn't need math. Now, I do have a funny story for you, and I want to get this out there because it's really funny. People say to me, well, you don't use math. See, I say that I've learned everything I use as an adult that I learned in school, I learned by 4th grade. And this is true. Now, part of that's because of my mom, who was very into reading. So I was a reader. I always read ahead of the class. By 4th grade, I was reading the same books my mother read, adult books, and I had the vocabulary to comprehend them. So reading wasn't the issue. I was never good at math. But guess what? I don't need math. I definitely do not need math. I don't need to know the difference between an isosceles triangle and a rectangle. Now you'll say, well, you like to cook, you're a chef. What happens if you have to double a recipe? Well, that's not hard. Especially in 2019, it's not hard, but it was never hard. See, I don't like fractions. So if something calls for 1/8 a teaspoon of pepper, right, and I'm doubling the recipe, Well, then I just take my eighth a teaspoon, I put it in the pepper, I put it in the bowl, and then I do it again. I just doubled it without doing any math at all. I never had to add 1/8 plus 1/8, even though I believe that equals 1/4. But again, I don't need math. Halving recipes, cutting one recipe in half, that's a little harder. But then again, that's why I have Google. See, basically, you need basic math. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So if something calls for 1 cup of sugar and I'm doubling it, then I need 2 cups of sugar. If I want to half the recipe, I need half a cup of sugar. That I can do in my head. That's cool. That's 4th grade math right there. But I don't need A plus B equals C squared. I don't need that shit. I don't need chemistry. I don't need to have Bunsen burners and stuff in my house. I don't need that unless I want to be a doctor, which I never did. So guess what? I don't need all that crap. And yet, in some schools, even kids who have no goals towards science or math are forced to take these ridiculous classes that are above their grade level, above their brain level, and they're never going to be good at it. They're being set up to fail. What Ben Sass says in this book is that children at a certain age in schools, especially our public schools the taxpayers are paying for, should have choices. Are you good with your hands? Then you take shop. Are you good with cooking? You take home ec. You take cooking classes. You know, my husband never went to college. And yet he is one of the best web developers in this country. And I say in this country because there are people all over this country using websites that my husband has developed. You may not know it, but he developed them, and we're very proud of that. But he didn't learn that in high school. He didn't learn it in gym class. What he learned in the Marines. What the Marines taught him was discipline. And the discipline he learned in the Marines taught him that if he wanted to be a web developer, he needed to go to a bookstore and buy books. And then he had to have the attention span and the discipline to read those books and test them out on his home computer. That's how my husband became one of the best web developers in this country. He gets emails all the time from people wanting him to come work for them, to build their websites, not because of what he learned in high school. And again, he never went to college. But from what he learned because he was interested in it, and he had the balls and the discipline to go out to a bookstore, buy the books, learn the stuff, and then put it to task and get the job done and get it done well. I wouldn't want anyone else building my website except for my husband. And he's not a college graduate. And yet all these people now going to college for all this tech crap. All you need is the discipline to go to a bookstore, buy some books, learn the crap, and do it. It's a lot cheaper. By the way, college is a privilege. It's not a right, as much as Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and the Democrats want to say it's a right. Now they want us taxpayers to pay for the future generations to go to college for free. Really? Think about this. Any of you who pay school taxes, and you know they keep going up every year, you're paying school taxes for public school. Now it used to be K through 12, now it's preschool through 12th grade. Now think about what Bernie Sanders and the Democrats want you to do. You've already paid for one biology 1 class. Now you're going to pay for freshmen in college to take a second one, even if their major is something that has nothing to do with biology. You really want to do that? You really want your tax dollars going to repeat classes that were already taught and passed? Just because the college says, well, this is what you have to do if you want to graduate college. I have a really good idea, and I want to know what you guys think about it. What if college turned into career preparation? Instead of undergraduate, why don't we just call it, let's just get right in there? Instead of having 3 years of law school to look forward to after you do 4 years of college, how about you start college? I want to be a lawyer. Okay, freshman year, you're taking legal classes. You're taking your civics classes. You're taking your constitution classes. You're taking your economic law, your commercial law. You're starting out as a freshman in college, preparing for your career. What you said on your college application you want to do after you graduate. Maybe you wouldn't have to pay for 3 years of law school. Maybe you'd only have to go to law school for 1 year to specialize. Well, I took all the classes in undergrad. I think I really want to do criminal law. So you go to law school for 1 year for just criminal law or civil law, litigation, whatever. It could actually end up saving you money, and it would save you from wasting your time, because what lawyer needs to take Algebra 3? What lawyer needs biology or chemistry? Really? I mean, if you get to be a good lawyer and you get a case and you need a chemist, you just hire one. But this is my point. Why not make college more than just a continuation of high school? Because basically, college is where a lot of our children are going to avoid hard work, to avoid getting a job, to avoid the responsibilities of being an American adult. I know that's why I went, to avoid a job, to avoid turning into my mother, to avoid living with my mother, if I was able to live in the dorm, be on my own. That's the wrong reason to go to college, folks. Now, on Thursday, I'm going to talk about something called the Peter Pan syndrome, which is children who either refuse to grow up or whose parents won't allow them to grow up into real adults. That's going to be a hoot, too. But I would like to hear your comments on this show. I promised you that this year's shows are going to be a little bit longer. They're probably going to go 30 minutes. And I really hope that you have the attention span to listen to me, because I've put a lot of work into these shows. I've actually reread some parts of Ben Sass's book. I've reread some parts of Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged. We're going to do shows on that. I've done my work. All I'm asking for you to do is give me 30 minutes of your time twice a week, and then please give me some comments. Give me some personal experiences. See if any of you can see yourself in the little girl in gym class wasting her time when all she wanted to do was read a book. The little girl that was never going to be a volleyball player but had to do it anyway and waste all those hours doing it. So much waste when our brains have so little time to develop, to enjoy learning, to want to learn, and to learn how to learn. So, can't wait for your comments. I'll see you back here on Thursday at 10 a.m. Peter Pan syndrome is the next topic. Love shows and grows. And please think about what I said today. Think about the fact that your tax dollars and your children's brains are being wasted and fried in the public school system, and even in the college that a lot of you are paying for. Political Paula, out.